The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, How to Connect to Your Next Career Opportunity, presented by WP alumna Michelle Beto, class of '06. My name is Sharon Ryan, and I work in the alumni office at William Paterson University. So, if you are searching for a job, looking to launch a new career, or stressed out at your current job and looking for your next opportunity, then this webinar is for you. It's amazing how many people feel stuck or have outgrown their present job and don't know how to move forward. Whether you're 22 or 52, there's one important thing you need to do. You need to connect. So in today's webinar, our speaker, Michelle Beto, will show you how to use the power of connection in order to get career opportunities. This webinar will teach you what it means to connect, how it can help you land your next career opportunity, and how to begin connecting as soon as possible. Before I introduce today's presenter, I just want to go over how this webinar will work. First of all, you will be able to view the presentation on your computer screen. You should see the first slide right now. You'll also be able to hear the presentation through your computer's audio system. You should hear me right now. And please feel free to ask questions by typing them in. We're going to be monitoring your questions and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. And in fact, a couple of people already sent in questions that we have ready to go. So get your questions in and we'll be answering them at the end. Any questions not answered in today's webinar will be addressed after the webinar is completed. So if we do run out of time, I think Michelle will be happy to answer your questions, possibly by email. So today, right now, I want to introduce today's speaker and topic. Michelle Angélie Beto is class of '06 from William Paterson. She is the founder of Connect, a blog and coaching business dedicated to helping students, professionals, and leaders learn how to connect in order to achieve success in business. Michelle is a proud William Paterson alumna who landed her dream job while she was still in college as a producer in New York City. Since then, she has used her insatiable curiosity and love of coffee to connect her way into positions for leading television networks and global brands. In today's webinar, Michelle will show you ways to connect your way to the top. And now I would like to introduce our presenter, Michelle Beto. Michelle?
Thanks, Sharon. Thanks a lot. I'm really excited to come and talk to all of you guys virtually and about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, which is how to connect in order to get your next career opportunity. So the first thing I'm gonna show you guys is this big, wonderful cup of coffee. And you guys will, by the end of the webinar, know why it's so important. So for all of you who, drink coffee, this is great news, but this is not just geared to people who drink coffee. Whatever your morning routine is, for me personally, coffee is something that I love to do. It started since I was a young kid and used this as a way to connect with people while I was still a student at William Paterson University. So for those of you that do not know a little bit about my history, I was a journalism student at William Paterson with hopes of becoming a television producer in New York City. So while I was studying at William Paterson, I was getting a lot of information that it would take years for me to accomplish this, of basically all of the cons to pursuing the career that I was going to pursue. So thankfully, I didn't listen to the naysayers and started meeting people for coffee, using other students, faculty, friends of friends, and anyone that knew somebody in the industry that can give me information. That's who I decided to connect with. And I would do it over coffee most mornings. For those of you that don't drink coffee, this is something you can do with whatever it is you drink in the morning, whether it's tea, whatever it is. But the reason why coffee has been such an important tool for me is it's not just coffee, but also the time of day. So for those of you that are students, you might have a little bit more flexibility in, requesting the time that you have to connect with other people and when you can request it. But for those of us that have been working for a long time or professionals, the morning from my past experience has been the best time to connect with people from different areas, especially important people that are executives at different companies. The morning is the most optimal time to connect with someone. And you guys are going to understand in a couple of minutes why it is when I let you know and what connecting really means, the actual definition that I've created based on my own experience. So first off, like I said, I used coffee to connect with lots of people. I was still a student at William Patterson with no connections in the industry. And I want to give you guys a big idea of how impactful just a simple thing called connecting was for me. So while I was a student at William Patterson, literally during a span of 12 months, I went from a journalism student to an intern at a local radio station outside New York City to an assistant producer in New York City. And this is all without my degree yet. And it's interesting because as impactful as this sounds, I didn't realize how fast I moved until years later when I started talking to other students and other people in the industry and found out how long it took some people to make some strides in their career. So this right here gives you a great example of all of the companies that I've worked for in my career. Some of the notable ones, so for the one that I mentioned that I got in college, it was working for Univision. But since then, I've worked for stations, NBC stations, CBS stations, ABCs, all of these big companies. And now actually I still consult for Delta Airlines. And I also got that via a connection. That's how important that was. And I'll give you guys a very important story that launched why I do what I do today, which is help people learn how to connect in order to get career opportunities. This big logo you see here, this Mercedes-Benz logo, some of you might know that their headquarters was located in New Jersey for over 50 years. And 4 years ago, they decided to relocate their headquarters to Atlanta, Georgia. So imagine the shock to a community that where people had spent 15, 20, 25, 30 years working for a company that was now going to relocate. So a big pivotal moment in my career was when I watched people who had never done a resume in maybe their entire careers because they had only worked at Mercedes-Benz. People who never had gone on an interview for years, didn't even know how to create a resume. So that moment in history was a big, big indicator of two things. One, the world is changing and businesses are no longer as stable as they used to be. Companies are moving, are changing, are switching it up more often. So we as professionals have to continuously learn and grow in order to keep up with the pace of business. And this is something that students also need to become aware of. And number two, the need for connection is constant. So for all of you right there that either don't have a job or do have a job, connecting should be your second part-time job. And I'll explain why in a second. So that critical moment when they moved their headquarters to Atlanta, Georgia, was what catapulted me to want to do something to help other people who might find themselves in these situations. So why is connecting such an essential skill set, right? Because it kind of seems like, wait a second, and one thing I'd love to say is I don't like the word networking. For me personally, networking seems very mechanical or like rehearsed. When you're at an event or you have an opportunity to meet someone, I prefer connecting because what that means is you're not looking to just see what a person does for a living, what their name is. You're looking to truly, truly connect with them so that you do build the trust and a relationship that you can leverage in the future when you do want to, you need a referral, you need a reference, right? These are all things that us as professionals and students as well, you're gonna need for the rest of your career. So that's why connecting is so important. So these are some, I'll give you guys some really, really shocking job search statistics that I've gotten through, number one, personal experience, but also from LinkedIn and Forbes. These are pretty shocking. The first one is 80% of jobs are not posted online. And this might seem pretty shocking to some of you, but it's actually the case. When I look back at my own personal career, I want to say a good 60% of the jobs that I've been offered were never posted. They were jobs that I was offered through having coffee with someone, sharing my interests, and then somehow the need for that specific interest came up and I was asked to, hey, would you like this opportunity? Things of that nature. So yes, a lot of the amazing career opportunities that you guys hopefully will get in the future will be via connecting with others and showcasing your talent, your interests, your what's unique about you. Those are the things that are going to stick with people's in people's minds and want to then approach you for career opportunities that do come up in the future. The second one is applicant tracking systems. They eliminate more than 50% of applicants. So what does this mean? If you guys are applying for a job at a major corporation, Mercedes-Benz, a Delta, any major company that you can think of, and actually it's interesting because mid-sized companies are also using these applicant tracking systems. Your resume has less than a 50% chance of even making it to the top. And this is where I'll explain that this is extremely important. You want to avoid at all times possible even having to go through an applicant tracking system until you've actually made contact with the hiring manager for the job. And what I mean by this is when you connect with people on a consistent basis and you learn how to approach people, how to message people, and I'll give you guys some great tips in a couple minutes. Once you get to this applicant tracking system, you should have already made contact. So then your resume, when it does go through this system, will get pulled because about, I want to say 80 to 90% of the time, your resume will never make it to the top of the file. So that's just an interesting statistic that's very important to keep in mind. And then this last one is about only 5 applicants actually earn an interview from hundreds of applicants. So to give you guys real world statistics today, big companies today for one job opening, especially if it's a great one, get about hundreds, 200 to 500 resumes per job opening. And I'm talking about a mid-sized company. Some companies get thousands. That's a pretty big number to be leaning on in order for your resume to get seen. So this is why it's so important to be present and consistently connect with others that are in your field of interest, that are working for companies that you guys want to work for one day. So now we're gonna get into the meat of the presentation, which is what does it mean to connect? What do I mean when I say connecting? So this is a definition that I have come up with for me, and the formal definition is it's an authentic attempt to learn and assist or assist someone. What do I mean by this? Most people think that networking, as it's called by many, or connecting, is reaching out to someone once you have a need for a job or are looking for a referral. Connecting is something that should be done ongoing and should be taken from a perspective of your not what your needs are, but more or less the learning portion of this should be focusing on the person that you're connecting with. So when you're looking for, I'll give you guys 2 categories since I know we have students and professionals on the webinar. As a student, your goal should be to learn as much as possible about the field that you're interested in going into. If you don't know what field that you want to go into or don't know the specific job, research as many different fields as you can. And the way I did this is I knew that I wanted to be in television, but I did not find the dream job, which was a news producer, until I did exactly this. And by this, I mean find different companies, different industries that you're interested in, and go on LinkedIn. I didn't have LinkedIn back when I was doing this, so it was strictly word of mouth and looking online for different things. But use LinkedIn to find connections in different industries. Use your friends, use your parents, friends of friends, but find people that you can approach, and the way you word it is you're looking to learn. Why did they get into the field that they're in? What do they like about it? What do they don't like it? Basically, it's the learning portion of this is a research experiment. You're looking to ask questions. And then the second portion of this is the assist part, right? And this is extremely important because this is one of the tools that I've used that has, one, helped me develop some of the most amazing relationships of my career, but also it's something that gives the person that you're looking to connect with trust, right? A great relationship, a professional relationship is based on trust. People want to hire and refer people who they believe in, but who they trust in. And when you offer someone assistance, and I'll give you guys a great example of how I've used this in the past. When you offer to assist someone and you follow through right away, they begin to trust you, right? Because you've done something for them and you've helped them. It seems like it's a simple thing, but you guys have to understand there's a huge, huge power in being able to offer assistance to someone. As a student, I used to do this, and I used to offer assistance for free. So if I knew that someone was holding an event or doing something that I was interested in, I'd say, hey, can I tag along? Can I help in any kind of way? And as a professional, I've done this where I've attended, let's just say I worked for Delta Airlines, and I went to go see a presentation that an executive was presenting, and let's just say they're working on a specific project. And I had happened to have done a similar project at Mercedes-Benz. Well, what did I do? I actually offered, after the presentation was over, sent the person an email and offered, hey, I've done this project before for another global brand. I'd love to help you do this, and I can offer my services. Well, guess what? They actually really appreciated, needed some assistance, and I was able to help that executive with that project. They remembered me now, right? And this is a company that has 80,000 plus employees. So those are small ways that you can begin to create a name for yourself and build relationships that don't require any expense at all, but will reap a lot of rewards, whether it's a referral, whether it's an insight into an opportunity in the future. So that's the essence of what connecting means. Always keep that in mind. It's to learn or assist someone, and in many cases, you can do both. So how do we go about finding connections? So this is big. Research. As I mentioned before, as a student and even as a professional, whether you're looking to find connections within your company or without your company, research, use LinkedIn, use friends of friends, former coworkers, colleagues, faculty at your university. William Patterson was an amazing resource for me, and I literally used to interview all of my teachers while I was still a student there. That was extremely helpful. Then events. So today there are a massive amounts of opportunities to attend events. Events, it could be a local workshop in your area of interest, whatever it is, a networking event in your town, but just anywhere, any place that you can find like-minded people or people that you're looking to learn from, definitely attend those events. Another thing you can do is you can attend online events. So there are things now called collectives where there are like membership sites or webinars just like the one you're attending right now that can offer you insight and potentially give you contacts that you can use to get more information. And then another thing is referrals. This is a big one. Ask friends, ask your parents, anyone that you can come into contact with. When you are thoroughly connecting with someone, they're going to ask you questions. These are opportunities for you to say, hey, I'm a student, right? And I'm looking to get into the field of medicine. I'm looking to become a television producer. Like, do you know anyone that could assist? Hey, I know someone. I got tons of referrals, just simply letting people know what I wanted to do. So this is a big one. And extremely useful if you are authentically going out and connecting with people and finding out information. The next one is, this one is a big one, which is how to message connections. So let's just say you've been busy connecting and now it's time, you got a great contact from someone and now it's time to message them. This is where a lot of people get stuck, especially because if someone is an executives or someone who has a high-powered position in a company, this is why coffee has been so crucial for me, because if you find out information and ask anyone who knows them. I used to ask people all the time, do they drink coffee? That was if they did, and some of them drank tea, I could ask for a meeting in the morning. The great thing about this is that if someone is an extremely busy person, and in the morning, you offering to meet them in the morning, they can kill two birds with one stone. If they are coffee drinkers, offer to buy them a cup of coffee, right? Offer to meet them near their office. How great is that? I've done something where I've met someone near their office, bought them, asked them, hey, what kind of coffee do you drink? And when they walked in the door, coffee has been ready and we've been able to connect and just talk about different things. It's a great tactic and it works. If the mornings, you're not a morning person, it doesn't work for you, you could do it over lunch. You could have coffee later in the day or meet someone later in the day. Whatever works for you. It's just, for me, coffee specifically and in the morning has helped, because a lot of people's schedules do tend to shift and change, especially someone who is extremely busy and has a lot of meetings and has a lot of responsibilities. Getting them in the morning gives you three things. One, it gets them fresh in the day so they can concentrate a little bit more, and you have less of a chance of your meeting getting canceled. And in many cases, sometimes I've only allotted 30 minutes to the meeting, because again, you don't want to ask someone for a 1 hour of their time. That could be a little too much. 30 minutes I find is the perfect time, because it's not a lot of time commitment. So that's why it's really, really important to be mindful of people's time and do a little research beforehand on them so that you have a leg up and can prepare for the connection. So how do you message them? I have 3 simple steps. It does not have to be complicated at all. One, whether it's an email, whether it's a text message, whether it's a message on LinkedIn, you need 3 things. Your name, right? So your name and who you are. So, hey, I'm Michelle and I'm a student at William Patterson studying da-da-da-da. Or my name is Michelle and I am a lawyer at such and such law firm. Whatever it is, just set the ground on who you are and what you do. Then specifically your job, right? So what do you do? Like, how can you connect with them? And then really quickly and concisely, the purpose. The purpose is extremely, extremely important. So I'll give you guys a sample message that I've sent over and over again. Hi, when I was working, let's just say at Mercedes-Benz. Hi, my name is Michelle Beato. I work for Mercedes-Benz. I'm in the digital marketing department. I'd really, really love to connect with you. I know that you work for a specific XYZ company. I would love to learn more about what your company does, what your role does. That's it. Then after that, wait for them to respond. And when they do respond, that's when you offer to meet them at a time of their convenience for 30 minutes. And if it's possible, for coffee. It's super, super simple. Just a short, concise message definitely tends to do the trick. And then when it's time, hopefully most of you will be connecting soon, and then it'll be time for your connect session is what I call it. This is extremely, extremely important. In a lot of cases, this is your interview. What I mean by that is every single person that you connect with on a daily basis, whether it's at school, whether it's your teachers, whether it's in a professional setting, I consider every single touch point with somebody an interview, because they're interviewing you as a potential colleague, a potential employee, a referral, anything of that nature. So I make sure that when I connect with someone, that I come prepared and that I thoroughly give this connect session 100% of my attention. So the things that I suggest is, listen. When you're connecting with someone, be prepared with questions and just listen to them, because by listening to them, you'll be able to get, one, the information that you're looking for, but also listen for opportunities for the second part of the connect, which is assisting them. So asking questions and offering assistance if applicable. So I'll give you guys a quick scenario. You're talking with someone trying to learn about their field, their current job, their area in a certain company, and they happen to mention they're super stressed out because they have such and such project. Ask about that project, right? Ask a little bit more so that you start understanding what their world is like. Because if there is an opportunity for you to help them with their project, whether you know someone that could give them the information or help them out, or you can volunteer for something, that right there is amazing, because they'll start looking at you as a resource, and it gives you an excuse to continue to nourish that connection. The most important part after your connection is definitely the follow-up. So once you've connected with someone, I suggest a thank you note, or it can be in an email, it can be a handwritten note. Today, handwritten notes go a long way still. When people receive handwritten notes, they tend to remember you. And then the other important part is provide the information and the assistance that you discussed. So if you've promised them, hey, I have a resource, hey, I can help you, whatever information that you've promised in that meeting, make sure that you follow through on that. Because again, treat every connection as an interview. It definitely is. Because if you happen to do this and follow up with them, a month later, if you're looking for something, wanting to connect again, or they happen to bump into someone who might need someone, they're gonna think of you. It's happened to me over and over and over again throughout my career. It's been an amazing investment of my time, but also I've gained friendships, like lifelong friendships, doing these simple connect sessions. So this is the portion where I want to leave you guys with something actionable that you guys can take from this. And I call this the Connect Action Plan. So I want you guys to start thinking about people in your life right now, whether it's someone that you've seen at a presentation, whether it's someone that that you've heard of. You might have never even have to have physically come into contact with them, that works in the field of interest, someone that works at a company that you're interested in, or even if it's someone who you know knows someone else that could be assistance of you. I want you to think about who in your circle of influence right now falls into that category, people that you would like to connect with. And what I want you to do is, one, think of 3 people and write down their name, what the reason is that you want to connect with them for, because this is extremely important. This is the bulk of what you will include when you send your note to them. So you want to learn about their current position, you want to learn a little bit more about their company, whatever the reason is, make sure that you state that. And if you can't do this right now during the webinar, because I'd love to leave room for questions, I love the question portion, definitely do this within the next 2 to 3 days, because the most important thing I want you guys to do is the date. I want you guys to write the date that you're going to commit to connecting with this person by. And what I mean by that is, I want you guys to give yourself some deadlines for the goals. So for the 3 people, if they are within reach, make sure that you time it accordingly. If it's someone that you know you can connect with in the next 2 weeks, okay, put a date down in the next 2 weeks that you're going to commit to connecting with this person by. If it's someone that it might seem a little more far-fetched, put a month from now. But the point of putting a date down is to give you guys some goalposts so that you can definitely start connecting with people that can take you to that next step. And that's all that I have prepared for the webinar now, because I want to definitely leave room for questions. I do tend to get a lot of questions. And right here, I'll leave this up for you guys, but this is my website, my Instagram handle, and my LinkedIn. So if one of the most important things that I definitely love to do is connect with people, because I've been doing it my whole entire career. And also I do have a blog on my website in which if you sign up for emails, I send you guys weekly advice on how to connect with people, what to do in interviews, different things of that nature. So I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to now open it up for questions.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. The first question that people are asking is this going to be posted anywhere? So the answer to that is we are recording this webinar, and it is going to be posted on our YouTube channel. So, and you will all be getting the link. Okay, so now a question, and you really kind of covered this, but I don't know if you want to expand on it a little bit. This person wants to know, is there any other way to connect with others than LinkedIn? And you did talk obviously about the coffee, and so I don't know if you want to go over the steps. So it was, you can meet them for coffee, you can send an email, send a text. There's so many other ways to connect rather than LinkedIn, right?
Yes, no, definitely. So I didn't have LinkedIn when I was a student at William Patterson. So that wasn't a resource that was available to me. So what I would say is, first, once you decide who you want to connect with, and what I mean by who is like, what are you interested in? What specific field? Ask the people around you. It is unbelievable how many resources are within your reach. So basically ask people, whether it's your parents, hey, do you have a friend who works in this industry? Do you know someone who works in this industry? Whether it's, friends, parents, your alumni association. You know, if there is anyone that you can, you know, reach out to via email, people are very, very happy to provide referrals. And what happens is once you start connecting, they will start connecting you with other people. It's actually very interesting for me. It's been like a domino effect where I connect with one person and they automatically, after we connect, think of 2 additional people who would be helpful to me or who I would be helpful to. And you can kind of start creating and branching off in that way.
Okay, this question is really good, and I'm wondering if we can make it a little interactive, because if I can ask the person who asked this question to write what field he's interested in, okay? The question
Okay.
is, he goes, how did you even go about finding the people that you tried to have meetings with? And also, how did you get them to meet with you? So this is Brandon. Brandon, maybe you could write down what field you're looking to get into, and we can give an example. And Michelle can help you out here. You know, maybe it's real estate, I don't know, but whatever you're interested in, if you could just type that in, and maybe we could, you know, say how you could go about finding these people and how did you get them to meet? Did you get a lot of rejections, Michelle, or did people mostly say, "Oh yeah, I'd be happy to meet with you"?
Yeah, so it's very interesting. I'd never really got, the only rejections that I got were people that were maybe potentially extremely, extremely busy traveling or just weren't available in general. But when I want to say it's 95% of the people that I reached out to definitely accepted and wanted to connect with me. Again, the most important, a critical portion when you connect with people is 2 things: the message. That's why I said make it short and make it concise and give people the reason why you want to connect with them. Remember, a lot of these people are busy, right? Especially the higher you go up the food chain at different companies, right? They do have a little bit of a guard on, remember, because everyone's looking to get something from them. So always go back to that definition that I gave you guys: learn or assist. So when you're like requesting someone to meet you, you know, make sure that you state that reason and make sure that that reason is to learn more about them at first, right? And people are more receptive, and people love to talk about their careers, right? Love to share lessons learned. Make sure that you make that pretty apparent in your message, that you're just simply looking to learn about what they do, or, you know, whatever the specific question is. People are more than happy to talk about it.
Okay, so now we heard from Brandon. So here's the thing. He's actually in a similar field to what you were in. He's a graduate with a media production degree. So
Okay.
if he were to, can you maybe just give some suggestions? If he were to want to connect with 3 people, who would you suggest? Or what would he go on LinkedIn and say, find a president of a media company? I mean, how, maybe.
Well, LinkedIn is an amazing resource today. What I would do is, if I were him, right, is he still a student, correct?
No, he's graduate.
Oh, he's a graduate. Okay. Well, definitely what I would do is use LinkedIn. I definitely didn't start with executives, right? Looking to meet with executives. They're extremely busy. I started doing that when I actually started working at the companies that I had a little bit more access to, better access to them. But for him as a graduate, what I would do is try to seek other employees at different companies that are in media. Is he in the tri-state area? Is he in New Jersey and New York?
I don't know, but he might.
Okay, but even if he
Yes,
is,
yes, he is.
okay, there are tons of groups. One thing is use social media, Instagram, Facebook. There are Facebook groups that are dedicated to media professionals. There are so many resources online that will get them in the door to like collectives or specific groups, and just be humble and say, hey, my name, you know, I'm a recent graduate. I'd love to learn a little bit more. People, this is how you get ahead of the game. Most people that are graduates or students are looking for a job. The way that you differentiate yourself is by asking I just want more information. I want to know what your experience has been. Can you tell me a little bit more about the company? That's your way in. So invite people, you know, use those resources and get on those chats, you know, follow different groups, try to find emails. So if you're following I don't know if you can ask him, like, is there a specific company that he has interest in working for?
Well, Brandon, you will type in and then we'll get back.
Yeah.
He's
Because if there is a specific company that he's interested in working for, I would research that company on LinkedIn, right? Not look at the CEO, but look at associate producers, right? Cameramen, videographers. Send them a quick note using that outline that I provided. His name, and I just want a quick 30-minute meeting. I'd love to meet you for coffee. I can buy you coffee, and I just want to learn a little bit more. Most people will accept that.
Wow. And this
It's really
question, this next question actually is the same thing you just said. Someone asked, what are the best ways to reach out to people other than email? And you just went over so many of them. You know, you can go on to chats, you can go on to Instagram, you can go into groups. There's so many, a lot of social media reaching out, and you don't have to
exactly.
email, right?
Another great one is if you want to get into media production or anything like that, go into WeWork in New York City, different work share spaces. I've actually made contacts going to a cafe, sitting my computer down and working at a cafeteria, just opening my eyes and ears and saying hello to people next door. I actually had a meeting with someone at a cafe about 6 months ago, and someone next to me, when I asked that person, hey, I'd love to connect with someone who does this, the person that was sitting next to me who didn't know me offered and gave me a connection. You just have to put yourself in those spaces. And right now, you know, all those spaces exist. Go to workshops if in New York City or different colleges, alumni associations, or holds speaking events. If you go to speaking events, you'll meet other like-minded people that are in the industry. There are definitely different ways. That's why events are so important. Also, too, back to Brandon, I would do business cards. I'm not sure if he has a job yet in the media production industry or not, but doing a great business card too, that actually is very impressive as well, because it cements you as a professional. And when you do go to different events, different workshops, even sitting at a coffee bar or something, you start talking with people, those connections will naturally come up, because if you leave them with something, then they might think of somebody on the way home. It's happened to me plenty of times. They'll email you later and say, actually, you know what? I actually thought of someone, or I just met someone last night who I thought would be a great connection. What you have to do is just put yourself out there and let people know you are open to meeting new people. You're interested in learning about new things. And that usually sets the course for people to just genuinely just start giving you connections and connecting with you.
And you know what? I'm just going to plug the alumni office for 2 seconds and then get back to questions. But we've been
Yeah.
doing networking events throughout the year and trying to really tailor them for specific likes and what people are doing. For example, we've done them at a gym, we've done them at a restaurant, and we've done business ones, and they're all free. So you can come to those and meet people and do exactly what Michelle is saying. Just meet. You'd be surprised the people that you would meet. We had one guy show up who hadn't been back to the university since 1979, and he's a multimillionaire, and wound up coming back to campus and meeting a bunch of our young alumni, and really they made great connections with him. So
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen. But I just wanted to plug us for 2 seconds. But now I'm going to go back to questions because there's lots more. This person goes, how do you go about connecting with a person that was referred to you through your current employer who is also out of reach? And you kind of answered this, is connecting over the phone or email with this contact professional? Yes, right?
Yes, it definitely is. Yes, definitely. So I just actually recently wrote a blog article, and you guys can find it on my website. And it's called How to Make Time to Connect. And one of the examples that I give is people are busy, people are parents, excuse me, have different jobs, have different obligations. What you can do is, yes, you can totally schedule to connect with somebody on the phone. That is extremely acceptable. I've done that plenty of times.
Okay, this question is really a good question right here. What if you make the connection, you realize you're no longer interested in pursuing that field while you're meeting or connecting with that person, even in the interview setting? Like, so you've set up the connection, they've accepted, you're having coffee, and suddenly it's like, wow, I don't really want to do this.
That you find that you're no longer interested in connecting with that person or their specific field.
You're no longer
Well,
interested in that field, maybe.
okay, that's fine. That's why 30 minutes is your golden ticket. I always say 30 minutes. It's really like a date, to be honest with you. 30 minutes for both parties is not a lot of commitment. 30 minutes goes by like this. And most of the time when I've enjoyed connecting with someone, whatever, it's always lasted an hour or more. But 30 minutes, that's why you can hold yourself accountable to 30 minutes, because in that 30 minutes, if you find that you no longer want to do it, that was 30 minutes well spent, because now you know that that is not something that you want to pursue. So it was well worth it. And 30 minutes, you know, like I said, it's not a lot of time commitment.
Yeah. Okay. This person says, this person feels like he's intruding when he's asking people to connect. Do you have any thoughts on overcoming this?
Yes. what I would say is, so believe it or not, and some of you, I can't hear you guys, but you guys might laugh, and people do laugh when I speak at events and I say that I was once an introvert. I was totally once an introvert when I was younger. And the way that I overcame it was, people, this is the great thing about where we are right now. The business world is changing. Remember that example that I talked about with Mercedes-Benz? There are people, so if you are 18 and a student, 25, 35, 45, 55, guess what? We're all in the same boat. We're all trying to connect and we're trying to grow. So actually, unlike 10, 15, 20 years ago, where there was a lot of stability, people stayed at their jobs for 30 years, everyone is moving today, right? No one is staying at jobs anymore for 10, 15, 20 years. That era is fading out. So that's a benefit for all of us, because just how you as a 25-year-old want to go and connect with someone, they're going to more than likely want to connect with you too, because they want to learn from you too. Everyone is in this, consistently growing and transitioning. So what I would say is follow the guidelines that I provided. And when you, and this is how you overcome it. An email, right? It's not as nerve-wracking as when you're sending someone an email, because I've given you the outline, your name, who you are, why you want to connect, and then, and the purpose. That's pretty simple. And if someone does accept it, the way you overcome is you show up, but you show up prepared and show up with a couple of questions that you want to ask. More than likely, once you do it once or twice and you come prepared with questions, what you'll find is you ask one question, that person will start talking and you'll start soaking up the information that you more than likely won't even get to ask the rest of your questions. And as and you'll engage in a great conversation that might lead to a follow-up conversation. So definitely the key to it is just come prepared. Send that initial email, LinkedIn message or whatnot, and then just come prepared. And you'll see it gets easier and easier as you start doing it more often.
Great, thank you. There's so many questions, Michelle. This young man says, similar to you, Michelle, he went to William Patterson for journalism, just graduated last semester, did internships in radio during his undergraduate career too, but he typically says he has trouble, he's using LinkedIn, getting responses on LinkedIn. So he goes, I guess I'm just another guy trying to reach out. So how does he differentiate himself in a direct message on LinkedIn? How would you differentiate yourself?
Well, this is what I would do. In this case, again, the industry that we're both in is extremely, extremely competitive, right? Everyone wants to get into the industry. What I would say is use LinkedIn. I would use LinkedIn as a backup. So right now, what I would focus on is the advice that I gave a couple minutes ago is go to events. Go to events where you're going to find other people that are in the same industry as you. Join Facebook groups. Go on LinkedIn and actually start engaging. So what he needs to do is start finding people on LinkedIn that are employed in television, maybe start joining some of the LinkedIn groups for that and start engaging, start writing comments, start sharing things, right? But start engaging first on LinkedIn with specific people. But then I think for the industry that he's in, it's super, super competitive. The FaceTime and the exposure to people who are in the television industry is huge. So that's why maybe going into Facebook groups, smaller settings and going to events of people that are in there, go to a book signing. If right now you have big time producers, you have former network executives that are all writing books or they're doing appearances, like just stay up to date on events that people that were in the industry or are in the industry are attending and get some FaceTime there. Because then after that, you can then follow up with a LinkedIn message. And then that's your door in, because your LinkedIn message, instead of just being a cold call, now it's, hey, I met you here, and there's a better connection. I did that a lot as well.
That's great.
Obviously, I didn't have LinkedIn to follow up, but I did have an email. I would research something and I would follow up with how we met.
Great. And also, just so everyone here knows, since we're talking about LinkedIn, there is an alumni group on LinkedIn with over 3,000 alumni on it. So if you go in there, you can also search and see who's working in your field once you join the group. So if you're not on our group,
yeah. That's a gold mine. That's a gold mine.
Because they're only Patterson alumni.
Yes, and I'll give you guys actually a really quick example of how I helped a recent college graduate get the job that she wanted using that exact same. So this is a person that I used to babysit actually when I was in college, and now she's a college graduate, and she was looking for a job. She lives in New Hampshire now, and she was looking for a job at a mayor's office where she, in the city that she lives in. She found out that the person, the hiring manager, or went to her same university. Guess what? We crafted an email to the person where she introduced herself, said who she was, and said, hey, I'd love to learn more about what your office does. And guess what? I actually found out that we are both alumni of such and such school. That person called her back. She had coffee with that person. 3 months later, she got the job.
Yeah, that's
so yes, definitely use the alumni connection. That is huge. That's huge.
Yep. Okay, this question is a student, and it's a little different. She's trying to connect with one of her professors, but is having a hard time connecting with the professor because the professor is so busy, and she feels awkward asking to meet with her since she has such an important job. And how should she prepare, and how can she meet with this professor that she seems to feel a little intimidated with,
So what I would do is, if it's her professor and she gets and has classes with her today, and she has one-on-one, you know what? One day, either before class, go to class a little early, stay in class a little later, and maybe and go up to her and say, hey, I'd love to chat with you about, again, state that purpose. Why is it that I want to learn more information about this? I'd love if you have time one day for 30 minutes. Remember, 30 minutes is not a big time commitment. I can buy you coffee, or I'd love to meet, either before class. Make it as convenient as possible for the professor. If she feels weird or intimidated asking in person, send the email. And then, again, using the guideline that I said, what it is, and then just say, hey, I'd love just to take 30 minutes of your time, and even offer, I can meet you if class starts at 9 a.m., I can meet you at 8:30 or right after. And more than likely, she'll definitely be able to meet with her because she's making it convenient for her. If she happens to love coffee and the class is an early class, you can choose to bring her coffee actually and meet 30 minutes ahead of time. Just be creative and make sure that you're making it as convenient as possible for someone.
Great. Thank you. Okay, now I'm just going to go back to the young man who is looking for the job in media that we were talking about. He's actually looking to work for Vice Media, Complex, or Sirius. So I think those are companies he can probably find some good connections with.
Yes, so definitely what I would do if I were him is game plan. So go on LinkedIn, put in those companies as search items, and start looking at the people that work there. Start sending some messages, maybe not to the CEO, but maybe people, associate producers, people that are on lower levels that can probably relate to him. And again, using the steps that I said, just send them out. And if you don't get a response, let's just say you don't get a response for someone, it's okay. There's always so many more people and then also though, Google the companies. Are they having events locally? Is anyone from certain companies? Follow them on LinkedIn, because then anytime they're in the news, you'll get updates about what's new, what they're doing. But just definitely continue. There are so many resources out there and ways that you can kind of get connected with people. You just have to get over that fear of rejection. I've sent emails out to people and they haven't responded. It's okay. There's always somebody else. But the great thing is, like I mentioned before, everyone is in this space now where change is happening at a very rapid pace, and people want to learn as much from young people as younger people want to learn from older professionals. It's very interesting what's going on. It's also exciting as well.
In fact, it's funny you said that, because right now somebody just made a suggestion, not a question. This person recommends getting a Twitter account because connecting there is much more casual than other sites. And it's also a good place to learn about who's hiring with internships, who's doing fellowships, who's hiring jobs. And this is a young person recommending Twitter. So when we did talk about social.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting creative, and this is the trick too. Once you've identified somebody that you want to connect with or something, study them, and I don't mean stalk them, but just ask someone, whoever, if someone referred you to them, do they drink coffee, or what's their schedule look like? Just make sure you get as much information as possible, because what you can do is when you send that note, just make it as the trick is make it as purposeful and as convenient as possible for them to connect with you. That is the trick.
Here's a good question for you, Michelle. Someone wants to know, if you could go back and do one thing differently, what would it be?
To be honest with you, I don't know if I would do anything differently, because when I was a student, I'll give you guys a great example. before I got that internship, I connected with everyone. When I tell you, I knew the people that cleaned the floors at William Patterson. Like, I connected with so many different people. I was a local radio news anchor. Like, I was an extra in TV movies. Like, there's a bunch of movies in the late 90s and early 2000s that you can probably see me in running and getting coffee out of. But I did pretty much everything. So to be honest with you, had I not done any of that, I probably wouldn't have had the career that I have today, to be honest.
Wow. Just want to say, the person before, I'm sorry, I thought you were a student. She's an alum, and this is her previous professor she's trying to connect with. Okay, so.
Okay, so then, yeah, what I would say is, yeah, I mean, first try LinkedIn. I'm not sure if she still has like email contact information, but I'm sure she can get it from William Patterson. Like, it's, you know, everyone mostly has, right, the same email domain address. But yeah, try an email, but then in her case, state your name, say I was a former student, and then just say that I'd love to connect with you, maybe at William Patterson, at a coffee shop near William Patterson. Like, make it as convenient as possible.
Okay, great. Would you recommend reconnecting with a hiring manager after a rejection?
Yes. Yes, because a lot of people do that. And I'm not sure if you guys have seen, it was an infamous interview. I think it was one of the creators of Netflix or someone, but there's an infamous story of them going for an interview, getting rejected, and he reaching out to the hiring manager after the rejection and them telling him, you're going to get the job because we just wanted to see who would reach back out. So believe it or not, if you get rejected, you should definitely, because even ask, hey, what are some of the things I could have done better? And, you know, in the future, what do you recommend? Use it also as a way to learn more information. And you know what? I've actually had someone build a relationship with a hiring manager who didn't hire them for a job, called them back to hire them for a different job. Yeah.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Well, you keep the connection.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, here's a good one. What if the connection you met with ghosts you after you send a follow-up thank you email, note, or letter? What do you? I guess you don't do anything.
No, you don't do anything. I mean, but it's on the record that you did something nice. Yeah, you can't.
For you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And remember too, like the other thing too is like you never know why someone is ghosting you. Like they could be going through. Remember, I tell people all the time that part of connecting, and that's why I always say ask questions about people, because you never know too what they're going through. We always assume that executives or other people have these perfect lives and they're living they're living the life of their dreams at their dream job. You never know. We're all trying to connect and get to like and continue to grow. So they might not respond to you in a couple weeks, but they might respond to you in a month or two, or just remember you just, and you might even run into them at a different event. That's happened as well.
Okay, Michelle, so this other very big question came in earlier today. So I want to just run over this if you wouldn't mind.
Sure.
This person is on the webinar. This is a 50-something-year-old who has been in the same organization for 19 years, has a bachelor's degree, has a master's degree, earned an 89 and an 06, lots of work experience, but really feels she can't seem to move forward to a more rewarding position, feels like she's stagnating. So she's asking, should she update her skills, sign up for a certificate, doesn't really want to further her education anymore. And she also wrote that, are there any other ways for LinkedIn? And so she's just kind of wondering, she's not starting a career. She's kind of feeling stagnated. And what would you suggest for someone like that?
Well, so she's not alone. There are millions of people in the same position as her. This is why I do what I do today, because like I said, the confusion about what to do next and feeling stagnant is not something, it doesn't discriminate on age, education, or anything. There's a lot of people feeling this way. And what I would recommend is LinkedIn. I definitely recommend optimizing your LinkedIn profile. So if you have a chance to look at my LinkedIn profile, I'm a little bit like I have, the about section is a really big, important section where I basically, give people a full synopsis of not just my career, but who I am and what I'm looking to do or what I want to do. But what I would say for her is she's going to find out I don't know how many years left, if she plans on retiring in the next couple, like but it's like finding out what is it that she wants to do. Like if it is a job change, what would be that dream job? And if you look on my website, I do have, I think I did it today. Actually, it's today's blog article about how to find your dream job. And it's what fuels you, right? What is something that you love to do that you can monetize and make an income out of? And what I mean by that is there are certain strategies that you can use to figure out what that next step is. And it might require you, to go get a certificate, but most times it's connecting with people. Once you figure out, hey, what's something that I would really love to do, that I love to do today, but if I could get paid for it, it would be amazing. I would say in that case, is try to connect with people who are in that specific area of whatever it is that you like to do. I mean, I've actually coached people to leave corporate America or leave their jobs and start something completely new, either work in a field that used to be a hobby and now they work in it and they love it. So there's a lot of different options that don't necessarily mean going back to school. I would definitely also not recommend that, just because, if you don't have the time, if you don't have the energy to go back into something, focus on something that you love to do and figure out how you can get involved in it.
Thank you. We're almost out of time, but I do have two more things here. This is a great one. What's the fine line between connecting / putting yourself out there and being seen as annoying or a stalker?
Well, annoying or a stalker usually means you're consistently contacting someone and just, and if you don't not getting a response, you consistently do it. I would always say give everybody one try, and the max I would say 2 tries. I've done it where I've sent somebody a follow-up email weeks later and then they've responded, right? But then after that, if they don't respond, then I just wouldn't respond. Or fine, if you really, really want to connect with that person, maybe just be more creative. Like if they're a professor, go to their class, even if they're not your professor. I've done that before. I wasn't able to get into a class with a professor, and what I did was I still went to the class and waited outside and waited to meet them. If it's in a professional setting, just like find other creative ways to potentially come into contact with them. Or if you happen to know someone who knows them, maybe have them do the formal introduction. I've done that plenty of times as well, and that works.
Okay, this is very interesting, and you're probably going to help with this, but we're almost done. It's a person with a broadcast journalism, had internships in radio, while a lot of people are in this field. Not 100% positive on what exact job I want, and I know you probably did this, Michelle. Like, how can you narrow down your choices or get a tunnel vision? Like, how can you go about doing that?
So what I did was I did every job. So I was by that I mean, I wasn't sure, like when I was a freshman, I wasn't sure, like, okay, I know I want to be in production. I know I want to be like in television production, but I didn't know exactly what that was. So I'm not sure if William Patterson still has the cable news show. Probably not. But I
think they have like a talk show, like The View.
Oh, okay. So when I was going to William Patterson, they had an actual like a news show, and I literally did every job you can think of. So I was the news anchor, the producer one day, running the teleprompter, and then outside of William Patterson, I was a weekend news anchor at a local radio station up in Pompton Lakes. I was an extra in different movies. I would use New York City a lot, go to different events in New York City, make connections, and I would volunteer. So if you're still a student, the way you get exposure is definitely connecting, putting yourself out there. I would even volunteer sometimes on Saturdays and be like, hey, I'd love to help. I just want to see what your event is about. And I would like shadow people. So those are different ways. Definitely exposing yourself to those environments is what's going to help you decide, what you want to do. Another important thing I want people to know, especially students, you might think you want to go into something. Let's just say you happen to get a job or whatever, and you realize it's not what you want to do. The great part of life is you can course correct. You can then start continuously connecting with people and then get into something else. So that was a pressure, I think, that a lot of people in my area of communication when I was a student would like pigeonhole themselves and feel stressed that they had to pick the specific thing. No, expose yourself to everything, because you don't know what might stick. It might be something else that you completely didn't think about before. So that's why exposure to different people, different events, and new experiences is so critical.
Thank you. Okay, well, we are pretty much out of time, but I do want to say thank you, Michelle, so much for doing this. I hope you all learned a lot. I know I did. One person did ask if we have any names of online networking, places that you had mentioned earlier, some chat rooms and some boards you can go on. So maybe we can find some of those and send a few samples to you. Maybe.
Yeah, it depends. Yeah, what I would say is it depends on exactly what you're looking to do. So I'll give you a quick tip. Like on Facebook, for example, I'm part of like media and journalism group in Atlanta, Georgia. Like there's actually like pretty niche groups if you just do a search on Facebook. So if you're in real estate, for example, or whatever it is, you can do North Jersey real estate professionals. There's a group on Facebook for that you can join. So if you just know if the exact area and like even put in the city. So for me, it's Atlanta, but for you, it might be North Jersey. There are small groups on Facebook that you can search if you're looking for something immediately. Those are great, actually. And then a lot of people will connect you with different people if you start engaging in those groups.
Thank you. So we are going to end now. Michelle, thank you so much. This was really
No,
wonderful.
thank you.
If you have any further questions for Michelle, I think Michelle, it would be okay if they reached out to you on your email.
Perfectly fine. Yep. And if, yeah, like I said, I offer free advice on my website every single week. So you guys can definitely take a look through a lot of the blog posts, and it gives you a ton of great information.
And definitely connect with her on LinkedIn and Instagram and all that other good stuff. So once again, thank you. This was really wonderful. I hope you enjoyed it all. If you have any further questions, you can type them. You'll have a little survey when you get out of here, and that's all. So everybody have a good night. Michelle, thank you again, and hope we'll all be connecting soon.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye bye.